All right. Good morning. Hey guys, I got Ben Salisbury and Ben Lincourt and Diego Salisbury. So I met these guys. Well, I've known Ben since he was probably 7. And I met Diego probably 4 or 5 years ago when they were in high school, and they showed up in my office with some questions. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm busy in this Corona world. So I thought I'd get these guys on a video and then share it so that either my brokers or my clients or my customers could hear their story, could reach out to these guys and they could help them. So Ben, Diego, whoever wants to start, you guys got an interesting story of how you got into kind of the internet business world. So why don't you give me a 10,000 foot history of that, and I'll interject and we'll go from there.
Diego, I'll let you begin.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So at least in regards to Ben and I, we were kind of on 2 separate paths that kind of merged into each other and then kind of got us where we are now. But with me specifically, I started actually with a pet sitting business with my mom when I was about 9 years old. So that was a really, really interesting time. That actually lasted a decent amount, probably around 7 to 8 years. She actually still does that stuff. So she kind of took over that whole thing now.
That's actually a big business, man.
No, it's crazy. She does a ton of stuff. So it's really, really cool to kind of see how that's evolved over time. It kind of just started from, oh, I have a cat to, oh, I want to have all these dogs and stuff. Mom said no. So she's like, why don't you just go pet sit all these other ones? So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So she helped me do that. And that kind of moved into when I was a freshman in high school. I started a clothing brand, which completely got obliterated after the first launch. I had, I think, 250 to 300 t-shirts. I sold them out in the first 9 hours of the school day by using the 4 to 5 most popular kids in each grade to wear them all on the same day. They carried duffels around and sold all of them in the same school day. Then after that, I had no business plan. So the business quickly tanked after that. So then I waited a year, did a bunch of research, and actually tried to be thorough with my business plan and all this stuff. So created a second clothing brand, which lasted till the end where I graduated from high school. And then I ended up not really liking that as much because in junior year, I started getting into drop shipping and online stores and e-commerce and stuff like that and brand building. So that's pretty much where that kind of started, and that's pretty much evolved into.
What were those little businesses grossing, and what were they netting?
So a lot. So I've literally tested tens of 20s of different stores with not only myself but different people in general. So the range was a lot depending on the product, the time frame, and stuff like that. So really, it ranged anywhere from tiny stores that went up to $3,000 to $4,000 and failed all the way up to 6 figures. So it really just depends on the product price.
And at the 6-figure level, what was the net?
The net?
Yeah, percentage.
So
I definitely think Ben probably has more analytical.
Yeah. So when Diego and I came together, we originally came up with the idea to do drop shipping together, which is basically acting as a middleman between the supplier and the customer. So you physically have no inventory. You create a website around a product. The customer will order from the website, and you will send the order information to the supplier. The supplier will then send the product to the customer. So Diego and I were doing that for a while. And then in the first year that we started doing it, there was a lot of testing. But after a while, we created a few sites, one of which did over $200,000 the first year. And it was about 60% of that was profit.
Clothing, what was it? Clothing, shoes, what?
Clothing.
Okay, specifically?
There was an athleisure brand, so women's clothing, and then we also did swimsuits as well.
But it sounds like those things evolve and go away because competition comes in, and then you got to kind of rerun.
Correct.
Once you've got a cookie cutter e-commerce thing kind of built, just plug
the market is always changing, so you always have to be able to adapt.
Okay.
And especially now in this climate.
So what did that evolve to? What happened after that? You guys went off to school and.
Right. So after recreating these stores multiple times, we realized that we were really good at building that online presence. So then Diego and I came up with an idea to create a creative research and development agency called Breathe the Agency. Diego, if you want to give a little bit of insight.
Yeah, so through Breed, that's really a collective of our past experiences over the past 6 to 7 years with failing more times than you can count, and then taking those failures to build a bunch of success. So we didn't want to just continue to do that by building random stores and doing a bunch of product research, because there's so many businesses that actually need help and they want to scale to a certain level while they want to focus on their actual business. So basically giving them more time to focus on doing the internal part of their business while helping them scale through things such as doing brand redesigns through websites, doing product production for them, like photo and video, and blog content copywriting, doing campaigning through Facebook, Instagram, and other social media platforms. We do a lot of development-based stuff, so doing a lot of, like I said, social media development, product consulting, e-commerce development. So, I mean, we really do a wide range of things. Specifically, we really try to push the mission of building people first brands, because a lot of times people forget that no matter what industry you're in, the end customer is always a human. So catering that brand and catering it in such a way where you can actually get a customer, whether a product, an experience, or something to that degree, is how you're going to be able to scale your business.
Okay. So give me an industry you guys have done that with locally.
Which one do you want to choose, Ben?
Pick one. Pick your best one.
We just landed a personal lawyer, or what is it, Diego?
So he's it's kind of a mix. So building a law firm while building a personal brand as a lawyer. So that's something that we've more or less kind of seen instant success very, very easily, just because of how we build brands across social media specifically. So we walked in probably like a month and a half ago. He had virtually no social. The website wasn't doing very hot. So basically we went through, did a whole brand audit. We are actually just finished up their brand website redesign. We came up with a completely new social media strategy, and we went into his offices to do a bunch of content. So across photo, video, and visual design. So we've seen like really, really good spikes with their follower and engagement with other law firms, which is really, really big, as well as other people that have.
What kind of attorney? What kind of attorney is he?
Personal injury.
Pretty competitive environment.
Yeah, it's a really big market, because you have people, like Morgan, Nation, like, I mean, there's huge ones. So competing with them is actually fairly easy. You might not think competing with Morgan and Morgan is easy, but the thing that you forget is these huge companies, it could be any business, like just anything massive tends to forget about the people aspect. They forget why they started, and then they don't curate the best experience. Because I've talked to people before that have used, just big brands in general after using a small brand, and like, oh, I really love the small brand because of the experience that I had. It was more intricate, more
the boutique feel, right? The personal touch, right?
Right.
Which is huge with customers. People love that. So
yeah, I know, I get it. Okay, so I don't want, it's early morning and my family's starting to rise. I wanted to get into, so in my world, we cover businesses ranging from, 50 million down to 50,000. And more often than not, I'm sure the same experience you guys have, the business owners or the senior vice president or the leadership of the organization is kind of clueless with regard to marketing in totality. And if I have to point, it's because I'm telling my family to stay outside because I'm on the deck and I don't want them bugging me. Marketing in total, and I'm on a call. Marketing in total, marketing in total, and how they need to pivot. And now Corona has come along, and we're all on these devices and platforms. And they're from a practitioner level, they don't even know how to create accounts, or they misunderstand who's actually on the platforms, and they don't know how to monetize. So, as professionals in the business with some experience of it, who actually gone out and pivoted or in this market, I want to go through certain verticals or sectors, and you guys give me one or two things for each type that these folks need to do, and how you would kind of deploy your resources to kind of move it. So let's start with the obvious, the restaurants. Mm-hmm. How do the restaurants pivot in Corona world?
Do you want me to take that one, Diego?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So the biggest thing to do with restaurants now, especially mom and pop shops, people aren't physically going in and dining in your restaurant. Most of it is takeout at the moment. So to be able to do that, you need to have an online menu, right? So you need to have that online presence and create a website. And then through the website, maybe getting more product photos, make it look appetizing. That's how you're going to get your real engagement.
How does video work with regard to restaurants? Like, what actionable items should a restaurant owner be doing with video or live stream, and then what platform?
I think even having the owner of the restaurant just get videos, staying in touch with his audience, show how they're personally impacted and how they're changing things up. Customers really like that transparency.
So if you have it like in the kitchen making meals, you know, in their little chef outfit.
Definitely,
You know, like,
definitely.
this is why my veal parm is better. I use mama's recipe, that type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you find do you find pushback? Like, are they afraid to do that? Or they worry about how they look? Are they worried about like their second chin or?
So the biggest thing with restaurants that we've seen is it's hard for them to take that leap of faith or go into that area. I know that it's very hard to monetize a restaurant, and it typically takes years to become profitable. So taking that leap and spending that extra money is like a very hard for them to do. But once they do it, they definitely see the potential and they see the exponential growth.
Okay. All right. So that's restaurants. Home service businesses, HVAC, pool guys, lawn companies, you know, anything regarding, you know, the trades. What would you recommend for the trades? And then what platform should they be on?
So with trades, you have to, okay, so at least specifically in regards to COVID-19, as much as people are kind of freaking out and not really sure what to do and staying in their houses and stuff like this, at the end of the day, people want to be and feel as normal as possible. So especially with people like, you know, pool cleaners, lawn people, and home service-based stuff, typically the relationship doesn't extend past looking out your window or your sliding glass door and seeing them working on your lawn or your pool. So, you know, at least with social distancing, I mean, that still is within the, I guess, the particular guidelines. So, you know, that they want to feel like they still want to clean their house. They still want things to be normal. So to this degree, if you own this type of business, knowing how to articulate that and push that to this audience now through the best place is definitely through Instagram and Facebook, because these people want to know that you're still providing for them, if that makes sense. So they want to know that despite what's happening, you're still there to help care for their life. Because we actually have a buddy who owns an HVAC business, and he's every single day still going out there doing a bunch of stuff with a lot of people. So at the end of the day, when, you know, if stuff hits the fan and let's say your AC goes out during a lockdown, you need someone to fix your AC, or you're literally going to be sitting in your house sweating all day. So just showing that you care for people and showing that you're still on the job providing for people is going to be the best way to do that. So photo and video content through social platforms.
You know, on that category, you realize that most people don't see their home service providers because they're usually at work. And, you know, if you could have created that relationship before and done this way before, so when you're here, they don't have this like, my gosh, you're here for, you know, you're the guy who cleans my pool. You're only here for 5 minutes. And they're like, where's the value?
Exactly.
You can defend yourself if you had, you know, created the value beforehand and that personal connections there. It's kind of this, you know, in some of my businesses I've been in, there's always this quit rate. And that when they see the pool guy and what actually goes on, they're like, oh, he's not doing anything. And what the customer doesn't realize is all the work he's done every day is what makes it so simple. It's not just that 5 minutes he's at your pool, right? So don't get the impression. And that's why being present and giving education on the front end about what your services are and making it personal connections real important, because it insulates the account. So it's harder to quit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and before and after pictures and photos are 100% the best way to do all those things within like any cleaning based business, because then you can literally receive that visual value to see.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that they could, you know, here's a before of your pool when I got there, and I could take a 2-second photo, and then if I'm connected to you on Facebook, I can DM it to you, and bam, they know the pool's been serviced. Where before it was like, hey, I'm looking for the piece of paper that blew away. Like my pool got serviced Thursday, and I know they were here because I saw them, and I'm looking around, and 2 days later I find the piece of paper, and I'm like, okay, you could have just DM'd me. I don't need the piece of paper anymore. Use technology and save yourself the paper cost. So
Right.
Professional services, CPAs, lawyers, healthcare, legal. Now, these guys come from a world where they're really judgmental in their own professions, and they worry about how they appear to everybody else. Like lawyers market to lawyers more than they market to consumers. So talk to me about how you would, up their game in this time.
Right. So same thing as Diego was saying, the online presence is huge. Three big things you can do on Instagram, especially for the lawyers and the doctors out there. You need to build credibility and have an active brand. So you need to be actively posting on your social medias, especially Instagram and Facebook, showing your audience what you're doing them and keeping them in the loop. That allows your audience to better engage with your content and see sort of a personal touch behind it. In the end, that will allow you to have organic growth because your audience, your followers that are watching that are already warm leads or prior clients. So actively engaging and retargeting them is the best thing they can do.
So healthcare is close to your heart for obvious reasons. What's the pushback you usually get from medical professionals with regard to a social media strategy?
Okay, so I can definitely speak on this. I don't know, actually, do you know who Dr. Miami is, out of curiosity? Yeah, so I'm pretty close with him. His brand is huge. He does a lot of awesome stuff. The main problem with health-based stuff is obviously HIPAA and all the regulations with visual, especially visual-based content, because of privacy and whatnot. So there's kind of a gray area and a thin line depending on your practice and what you do. In his standpoint, that's perfect because what he does is his brand that is a model brand, especially for plastic surgeons. But what he does is like through the contracts and stuff, lets people know, hey, like, is it okay to do videos here and here so I can show my work and build this base of people. And so he literally built his whole audience by catering specifically to the social platforms with the customer audiences. So going through Snapchat and Instagram and showing exactly how he does it and making it fun and engaging for his audience. So that's literally how he gets his customers. He doesn't even do Facebook ads or anything like that. It's literally just straight content. So with healthcare professionals in that area specifically, like I said, there's a very thin line. Obviously, if you work for the hospital, you can't really walk in there with like a video camera or anything. But if you have a private practice, you really can set up those walls and rules really to, I guess.
Okay, but what would hospitals do?
So hospitals, a lot of the time they do spec commercial-based stuff, so things that are set up with actors, because very rarely can you use patients, especially inside the hospital. So typically it's shot in a set-up type of studio manner. So it's like I said, there's a gray area with health-based stuff, but it's definitely possible to do all of these things.
I can definitely add to that. A big thing that these hospitals should be doing right now is just simple Instagram posts promoting health and wellness. Right? Simple post saying, hey guys, make sure you wash your hands at least 20 seconds. Keep your distance, don't be touching your face, that sort of thing. Just keeping up to date with their customers is a super simple way to actively engage with them.
Okay. All right. So the next shoe that dropped is retail. What's going to happen? And then what should retailers be doing? And obviously you guys could fix some of their issues pretty fast. I think, Ben, the last time you and I talked, I was like, why don't they do it now? They need to do it now. And then COVID hits and they've lost all their traffic and now they're playing catch up.
Yeah.
Let's hope to God they listen and they, go to breatheagency.com and go create me an e-store so I can actually have incremental sales and still be operating without this default. So talk to me about retail.
Right. The biggest thing, or where most of our clients come from, it's these companies that have this brick and mortar set up, but they have no online presence. And they're seeing a downturn in sales, especially now. Right? The biggest thing they can do right now is build an e-commerce store, right? Less overhead, you just do it all through there. Diego,
how long does it take to create a store and be up and running?
Through our services, we can crank out a store within 2 weeks and have everything ready to go.
So there's a pretty fast turnaround depending on what your objective is, how many products you have, and stuff like that. But kind of more in regards to what's going to happen, you're definitely going to see the filtering of businesses that adapted and ones that didn't, especially with online, which is why the push to build a brand right now is there is literally no perfect time. I can't stress this enough because people are in lockdown, people are in quarantine. So what are they doing? Their
They're
face
watching
and their
computers.
eyes are 100% glued to their phones and their computers. So the best way, especially if you're a product, influencer marketing, don't even run Facebook ads. Use influencer marketing, because with these people that are glued to their phones and their timelines and their feeds and all this stuff, you use people that they're invested into to use your product, and they see, oh, whatever, I'm invested into Mike Shea and he's using, I don't know, this skincare product, and I follow him every day. I look at all his videos and stuff. So, since I consume your content and I say, oh, he's using product ABC, let me check that out. That's a perfect way.
Let's talk about that. So people think influencer marketing is, I get, Michael Jordan to sponsor a product. The reality is that at a local level, there is influencers within subsects and within industries and within areas, right? So,
100%.
right. So, if I take this video we're doing right now and I send it to my network, the idea being that if I think you guys are experts, there's going to be this trickle down effect. And we had that happen last week, right, Ben, where somebody had watched the video you and I had done 8 months ago on my YouTube channel and called me and said, what's the phone number for this guy? Right. And you're like, wow, here, it drove sales. So the point is that people need to think not that social media makes influencers out of everybody, because everybody has their tribe, and the tribe kind of cross pollinates. And this is how networking happens at a traditional level. This is how BNI works, chambers of commerce. It's now just virtual, and it is personal, because now you have to be personal on a video conference now. What's going to happen to retail?
What's going to happen to retail?
Yeah. Bye-bye mall.
If you don't, with malls specifically. Okay, so I'm someone. So I've done things with like I don't know if you've heard of PacSun, but I used to do a lot of floor set planning with them. So there's a whole psychology behind how people like physically shop. And as much as I would like, and how I love e-commerce, I still think there's such a personal interaction with feeling material, looking at clothing, and doing all this, which is where VR and AR come into play. But at the same time, we're humans. We love emotional, tactile things. So I don't think it will go away. I just think there needs to be a better placement and emphasis on how to make the physical experience more engaging and better, to the point where people want to equally shop online and in person. I definitely think there'll be a shift percentage-wise, because obviously a few years ago it was literally just, okay, we're all doing physical stuff, but now it's literally everyone needs to shop online, everyone needs to shop in commerce. But I don't think physical will 100% go away, as long as you have an online brand that people can invest in. So if they have the ability to have an online experience that is thorough enough and they like that brand, then they will have no problem going into a physical store that's located somewhere generally near them.
So branding, you keep hammering branding. Oftentimes, these sectors we talked about, the lawyer, the doctor, the tradesman, the retail store at a local level, they think of brand as like Nike, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. And they don't understand how to build a brand and what that actually means, or they don't understand why it's important. So can you talk to that, on a technological front, as e-commerce lifts and gets more and more driven? Give me a little bit on that.
Right. So branding is literally just being able to have a consistency throughout your company that your customers identify with. So having the same colors throughout your site, and every time they get a newsletter from your company, it's going to have the same color border and the same color font, or same color text and the same font. That sort of thing, it definitely helps. Logos, just consistently having your logo wherever you advertise, on your website, even on your physical products. That's a huge thing. Diego, any other insight?
Yeah, so if you think about Airbnb, for instance, when Airbnb first came out, I don't know if you remember their original logo, but it literally was just Airbnb in like some blue weird font. And then they went and did a rebrand, and that completely changed the face of the brand, because they implemented all of their missions into the one little, I forgot what they call it, but that little A type of thing where it's like the location pin, the A, and then it's an upside down heart to like where people love the experiences through Airbnb. So there's little tiny like Easter eggs you can do with logos and stuff like that. But branding is like, you don't have a brand or anything without an audience and a customer base that continues to invest time and money into whatever you're doing. So building something that invites customers and audiences through kind of how Ben was talking about colors, like logos, text, and just kind of consistency is the best way. So consistency is the key with everything. So whether that's colors, the production of quantity of content, the quality, where you're posting things, and who you're catering to is really how you're going to build and scale a brand no matter what market you're in.
Right. And I think I wanted to point out that eventually, my big fear for like retail brands and the like is eventually we're going to be using voice more and more.
Mm-hmm.
I use my Alexa religiously. And, if I ask Alexa to order me cookies, it's going to decide what brand is coming to my home. So, if you think about sneakers, if I think about running shoes, right, Nike pops to mind, and that's the power of how a brand kind of impresses. Coke being a beverage, right? Now the waiters have to act, well, we have Pepsi, right? That's what your goal is as a business, and it doesn't have to be this massive thing. If you want to be, Morgan and Morgan, John does a fabulous job of being your attorney, right, and positioning himself as the defender of the week. And he's this massive thing, and he spends a ton of money to do it because he understands why brand's important, as do the other attorneys who are top of mind that you just automatically rattled off in your conversation. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to penetrate that space, you find the weakness, which is that, hey, they have a crappy personal experience, and I'm going to take them down. It's the David and Goliath scenario. What's their weak point? Their weak point is they're not personal, and we get lost in the customer experience. So just because you're small, you can have a brand and you can attack the weak points of your competitors and get a big piece of the pie, right? So success is defined by some massiveness. It's, how does it all trickle down to the economy of your business? So I think that was every one of the sectors. Is there anything else you guys want to tell me? Tell me a little bit about your agency, what you do, how people can get a hold of you.
So kind of how Ben talked about earlier, we are a research and development agency, which if you know anything about research and development, some of the biggest companies such as Apple, Google, Amazon, they spend billions of dollars on it per year because they understand the need to understand their customers and how to build out internal processes and build a brand. So that's really why we built Breed, is because we want to help not just build, not just logistically with, okay, here's the colors, the branding, here's the company, here's the products, but how to build something for the long term and how to help your company build internal processes to adapt. So whether that's going through e-commerce development, which is literally, not just a product and stuff like that, but okay, how are we going, how do we expect this customer experience to go from, in 6 months to 5 years, and how do we want this to be just in the next 10, 20, 30 years? So building out things for the long and short term and understanding each nitty gritty piece of a process, and know how to articulate analytics and how those demographics compare with specific products. Because like sometimes we'll be going through, let's say, Facebook ad campaigns, and each section of an ad set will go towards a specific demographic of people because there are so many different people in the world. So our biggest mission is to really push and build the best people first brands in the world. That is what we do now, and we are so blessed to work with the people that we work with. You can find us on Instagram at Breed the Agency. Breed the Agency is literally every at handle, which consistency is the key, because so many brands have like, oh, Mike Shea for Instagram, or _Mike_Shea on Snapchat or something. So trying to have like that same at handle is appropriate. But yeah, you can find us at breedtheagency.com and Breed the Agency at every at handle to figure out what all we're about and just kind of follow what we do.
Hey, you made a good point, and I want to kind of drill down on it. Do you find customers, and this is a challenge in any business to business sale, is that they make their judgment based upon their world and what they view the world is, and they don't understand there's people of different colors, races, creeds, ages, genders, experiences. And it's almost like they think everybody's mint chocolate chip, right? They like that. So I'm going to have a store that does mint chocolate chip. And you're like, look, dude, nobody likes mint chocolate chip except you. Just because you like it, no one else is going to like it. You need to have 54 flavors, right? And everybody's opinion matters. And that's sometimes the biggest disconnect in how they deploy their ad spend or their dollars going out to the marketplace. It's like their worldview, so everyone has to think the way we do. It's almost monopolistic, and it's one of the biggest mistakes I see when people spend dollars is they apply their judgment or their worldview or their experience. And the world now is moving so fast and changing so quickly that they're missing the opportunity. I mean, you guys as younger guys have that disconnect. You're speaking gospel, right? And you're talking to a 50-year-old guy who I have a small understanding of what you do, but there are people who you're talking to who have, it's going over their head completely, right? And they're like, oh, I wish it was the way it was 50 years ago. I'm like, well, it is. It's just a different platform now. Right. You read paper. These guys are on a device. It's the same thing. And my dad said it to me this morning. Nobody reads books. I'm like, Dad, they read books. They do an auditory. They listen to tape. I mean, it's not on a tape anymore. You thought tapes and 8-tracks were advancement. Now it's, everything's on a Kindle, right? And he just can't get his head wrapped around it. But he's 90, right? So there's that nostalgia feel. It's the same stuff. It's just different tech now.
Right. Believe it or not, the very first thing we do when we onboard a client is deep research, right? Who's their audience? How can we target their audience? What are the best colors that would go with their quote unquote brand that they have set up? Research is king, especially now.
And a big thing that we do, which is kind of like the staple of what we do, is we've kind of coined the term, but we build hybrid brands. So for instance, with the law firm that we use right now, we basically took the top 5 law firms, whether in the nation or in Florida or in the general area that we work within. We took the top 5 and we do a deep analysis of each brand. And then we basically we section them off into pros and cons, what each brand has, what they don't have. And then we also put the brand that we're building into that kind of chart, let's say. And then we analyze them in comparison to the top 5 brands. And then we take all of the things that we like about each brand, the things that we don't like, and we match that into the brand that we're building to build something that's familiar, but new at the same time, to kind of build a hybrid brand that speaks volumes to the sector of whatever the client or the brand is in.
Right. You address all their wants and needs, and you don't offend anybody.
we try not to.
Right. Got it. All right. You guys have anything else? So what's the best phone number to get you at?
I mean, we both have phone numbers. So mine personally,
does the company have a phone number?
We don't have a company phone number.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
Very personal touch,
Yeah. All right. Well, give me both your phone numbers. So
my phone number is 407-394-0164.
Best way to get you, Diego? Twitter?
Honestly, the best way to reach me is email, which is diego@breatheagency.com. I'm on email literally every single day, and I reply literally within like 10 seconds. So,
so mine's Ben, B-E-N, @breatheagency.com, BREED, theagency.com. You can do that, or you can shoot me a text at 407-782-4364. Yeah.
Dude, I love that you made your bed this morning.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having us. I'm gonna save this and send it over to you guys, and then